Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a short video. So I work on the car a little bit as I get to it, but I don't video every single time I work on it. So I'm going to walk you through some of the little things I've been working on. And the next video, I'm not going to keep you guys waiting anymore. The next video will be at the dyno. So we're really close. So let's go ahead and get at it and show you what I've been doing. So I got the fuel system done. I cut an access panel. What I'm going to end up doing is either Velcro. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a panel for it to cover that back up. But so I got two feed lines here. One's for my primary Walbro pump, 450, and then my secondary Walbro 450. And then this is the return that just feeds back into the fuel bucket. So I already explained it, I think, in the first video, but just to clarify, so these both Y in to the, these are all three -6, and these two feed lines feed into a Y of -8, and then the -8 goes all the way to the front. So how I have it set up is pump 1 will be on the normal key. I got them, well, you can't see it, of course. Get a light going here. So I just wired them up just for testing. So this one is for my secondary fuel pump. I'll explain that in a second. It's on 12 volts all the time. And then this goes to my fuel pump and also my water pump. So when I turn on the key, this gets 5 volts. This is the original fuel pump relay here. So, well, I unplugged it and I just ended up using the 5 volts there. Or sorry, 12 volts for the signal for the relay that I put in for the fuel pumps. So all it does is I turn the key on and it primes just like factory. And also the water pump will do the exact same thing. So that way, if I have the key all the way on, it's not just going to sit there and run. It'll basically prime and then it'll turn off until the car's running. So, so that's what those are. And then this one, so once again, how I have it set up is this one turns on, runs exactly like the factory pump. And then this one is on, it will be on a Hobbs switch, so it'll kick on at 2 psi, or I'll have 12 volts running to it all the time, so that way it can I can turn it on whenever I need to via the switches up front. But this is just temporary. I kind of just stuck a terminal down in there just to test it, and it all works great. So I'll probably splice into these the actual wires underneath here. But so I don't think I've ever actually explained what I did here. So I wish I would have videoed some of this when I was working on it, but I wasn't doing any of this at the time. So what I did is, so these wires that run in here aren't a thick enough gauge to run these fuel pumps. And what guys have done is they've ran the fuel pumps off of these wires and it'll actually burn it up. So I obviously didn't want to deal with that. So I ran 10 gauge wire. So these are just studs I ran through and I epoxied in. So now it looks just like this on the inside. My fuel pumps go to, fuel pump 1 goes to this one, fuel pump 2 goes to this one. These are my, my power wires that go back to the relays that I put in. And I'll walk you through that today too. And then they're both grounded to this one. So that way I get plenty of power. I can get plenty of current running to those pumps, and I don't got to worry about any of that. And then I got, obviously I don't have any of it tied up yet, but this is my fuel filter and then my return line. So those will get mounted up to the rail, but I just have them sitting there for now. And then this is my fuel setup. This is what I'm doing. So regulator, fuel comes in, regulate, and then goes straight over to the fuel line or the fuel rails. And then it also, on the return out the bottom, goes directly into a flex fuel sensor, which I will be wiring up into the factory ECU. So that goes back and goes down along the rail like you saw earlier. So I think I explained it already, but the battery used to sit here and I relocated it to the trunk, and I made these aluminum plates just to cover it up and look nice. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know. Looks better than just the black plastic or whatever, but all in all, it's looking pretty good. I stuck the radiator in, so it's a pretty tight fit. I actually had, as you can see, I actually had to lean the radiator back and drill a new hole. So I'll probably cut this off. I'll probably try to make it look nice, but I'm going to try to get the plastic that covers all this. That way, you know, it'll cover all this and it'll look nice. But from factory, if you remember, the water pump neck was right here, right where the LSX drive setup is, and now it's on the other side. So I bought a hose that will now, because before it did like a little loop and went in, now it's going to have to 90 over and then 90 in again. So I ordered that yesterday. I went ahead and bolted on the throttle body, so that's there. Got my adapter harness for the LS2 throttle body. I ran my vacuum line back to the regulator for that. I ran this hose for the brake booster. It's not, I mean, I'm going to make it look nice. I just I wanted to make sure I had enough for now. So that's that. The lid's just sitting there still. I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm just using it to keep the supercharger covered and closed up. I did end up going with a brand of injector called Snake Eater. So I had done some research because this is kind of a budget build. I am a guy that I prefer to, I don't know how to explain it in a good way, find the cheapest route possible, but it's still safe. Because I want to go out and I want to be able to beat the guys that are putting big money into their builds. They're just throwing money in it. They're having shops build it. They're doing everything. I want to be able to go out, because I built this car in this garage. Every bit of it. I did the rear cradle swap in this garage with the other two guys that are on this channel, Zach and Mikey. And I pulled the heads. I did the entire engine in this garage. The entire fuel system, everything. Everything's been in this garage. So I want to be able to go out and at least be competitive or beat the guys that are putting big money into their builds, making big power. Like I told you on, I think 2 videos ago, episode 2, that I got the drag wheels set up. So those, like I said, those are C7 Corvette wheels that I'm going to make work on my rear cradle. So I'm trying to find that I got cheap. Like a guy, they didn't fit his car. I forget, he had a C7, but they were for a Z06 and he had the base model, or vice versa. I don't remember which it was, but it was something like that where it hit his upper control arm. So they didn't work for him. So I got them from him decently cheap, and they're brand new. I think it has one little scuff on the inside from where it actually hit his A-arm. But so Jake's front wheels, they work. You don't need weld wheels to go 9s, 8s even. It's probably preferred because welds or whatever are probably better material, but you don't need it. It's not necessary to have a fast car and be competitive. So that's how I prefer to do things. I'd rather do it myself, and that way some of you guys it's probably not a big deal to, but to me, I know it's done right when I do it. So And I know every square inch of this car. I know everything about it. I've had the fenders off from when we painted it. Maybe you guys don't know that, but this car isn't black. It was actually silver when I bought it. And the fenders had a dent here. These are the factory fenders. It had a dent here. All the clear coat was peeling. If you follow me on Instagram, you can go look at one of my posts. I showed before and after pictures. It's pretty cool actually, but I don't know. You might be able to see all the metallic that's in this paint. This is actually a C7 color called, what's it called? It's a metallic gray. Watkins Glen Gray, that's what it is. Watkins Glen Gray metallic. So it's actually a charcoal color. It's not black, but it looks black when it's in the dark. But I love it. It needs a good paint correction and ceramic coating. But so the other thing, last night I ordered a shifter. So once again, one of the episodes, I don't remember which it was, I talked to you about how I broke the shifter off right before LS Fest. Well, I'm going to need one either way. I can't drive this car with that shifter hardly at all because it moves. It's terrible. So I ordered a shifter from Creative Steel. So it's fully adjustable in height and throw. So I'm really anxious to get that in just to feel the difference because I've never had a good shifter in this car. It's always been kind of loose. So I'm really anxious to see what it does. But kind of got off topic. All the way back to the injectors. So I bought these. They're called it's the Snake Eater Performance. So my understanding of what this guy does is he buys them in bulk, and he flow matches all of them, in sets. So he'll pull out a set of 8, he'll flow match them. And then he'll check everything, he'll clean them, and he'll send them to you. And I mean, they're very cheap compared to a good name brand injector. But there's been a lot of good people talk about them and good reviews and about not having issues. He sends flow data with it, parameters. He's been easy to talk to. So I'm kind of anxious to try them. They're 95 pound. Or 1,000 cc. So I'm gonna give them a shot and see what they do, but we'll find out on the next video because it's gonna be dyno time here before too long. So all I have left is the heat exchanger. So all the water lines for the supercharger, an intake. I gotta build an intake, and that's. And do the shifter. I'm going to do the shifter before I take it to the tuner because I'm not going to make him deal with it. So that's really it. But I think I'm going to walk you through my fuel pump relays and show you what I did there. But I think that's it. If I think of anything, I'll show you that. But I think that's it. So let's jump to the relays. All right, so back in the trunk. So relocated the battery back here. I went ahead and got my fuel pump mounted. So all I did was I put 2 notches in the floor, and then I ran a big hose clamp through those notches and around the water pump. It actually worked pretty well. It doesn't look the greatest. I'll probably end up doing something else, but there was actually a plug there. So this actually, if you remember, looks kind of like a turbo. So it has the inlet here, out, and then it has an exit straight down. I put it through that plug in the floor. If you can see it, it's turned the wrong way right now. It's loose, but I'm going to point it that way and send that line straight over that way. So it'll look a little bit better, but and I was kind of working on drains, so this isn't going to work. I was overcomplicating it. So how this is set up is if you want to drain the whole tank, you just undo this bottom one here. You'll open up the bottom one, drain the whole tank. Or if you're at the track, what you'll do is you'll open up this top one, and it'll drain all the way down to that level, and then you know exactly how much ice to put back in it. So basically, you can drain it, you can go mess with the tune or whatever you're going to do, mess with it, check your tire pressures, whatever. Open that up, go check everything, come back, and you know exactly where it's going to be at every time. You know exactly how much ice to put in it. So that'll be really convenient. But so I'm kind of working on that. It's not mounted yet. It's just sitting there, but still working on that. So these are my fuel pump and water pump relays. So this is fuel pump 1, fuel pump 2, and water pump. So this is the relay that came with the water pump. So these are just fuses. Gosh dang it. That's just the fuse for those fuel pumps. And this madness is what I did. I have no idea if it's going to work, so I'm kind of concerned about it a little bit. But as you can see, you got the power wire that runs up and along, and this will all be hidden because there's a piece of trim that goes along here, so it'll all be hidden, which will be really nice. And then runs up and goes onto this block here. If I could take this cover off, you might be able to see it a little bit better. Oop, I lost a nut. So what I did is power wire comes in, strapped to and bolts to one end of this strap here, and then on the other end it goes out, and that wire, that cable right there goes straight to the starter. So this is the 1/0 gauge wire, so it's pretty thick and should be fine. So it ran all the way up. And then my fuel pumps, I don't know if you can see them, there's bolts that go into that, those pull straight off of this, so they get direct 12 volts. And then same for the ground. I got a ground comes over and bolts to this end, and then this one goes to a couple grounding points over here, which I probably need to make some more ground points, but it's pretty straightforward. And then this is actually 3-phase cable that I used, and you saw these earlier on the fuel pump hat. So these are the ones that go to the fuel pump. So pump 1, pump 2, and then the ground. So and then I got some connectors just to make it simple. And then so I'm gonna make a plate, so this will all be covered. I'll be able to cover this and you'll have no idea it's there. So once I put, because this pan will still be able to get put on. So I'll put that on, and this cover will be there, and you'll have no idea anything's back here. So it'll look just like a factory trunk, other than you'll probably be able to hear the fuel pump, or the water pump. So that's kind of where I'm at. We're really close. It's really close to being able to start it, and probably what I'm gonna end up doing, because I don't want to take it to the tuner and him have issues with it. So, because I'm gonna take the day off of work and stay with him all day to try and help. Because this, like I just kind of explained a little bit, this is all custom. So if I have any issues with anything, I want to be able to help him, or if he has any issues with anything, I want to be able to help him figure it out, because I know where everything's at, I know where everything's wired to, and he won't have to trace it. So that way maybe it'll be a little bit easier on him. I'm gonna stay out of his way, because I know I hate it when somebody stands over my shoulders and watches me. So I'm gonna sit to the side unless he needs me. So, but no, we're really close. There was something I was about to say, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. That's the story of my life. So that's what I was gonna do. So most likely what I'm gonna do is, just to make sure I don't have any issues with wiring or anything else, I wanna try to fire it and make sure it'll at least attempt to start. I'm not gonna try to start it. Well, I'm technically trying to start it. I'm not. If it actually starts and runs, I'm gonna shut it right back off. Like, I can't imagine it will, because of the big cam, the added air, and the added fuel. So like I said, these are 95-pound injectors, and from the factory they're like 20 something or 30 something pound injectors. So they're like 3 times or almost 4 times the amount of fuel going in. So I have them unplugged, and what I'll do is I'll take this lid off and I'll squirt just a little bit of fuel into each cylinder, and then I'll try and fire it and see what happens. And if it attempts to fire, I'll call it good. I'll plug the injectors back in, and that'll be the end of it. And that's how I'll take it to him. But I want to make his life as easy as possible, because if I can do that, then the whole process will just be easier. So, but I think that's it. I got to put some oil in it. Like I said, I got to do all the water lines. I got to do the intake, and that's really it. That's where we're at. We're ready to go. So I'm excited, but make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because there's gonna be a lot more happening with this, because I'm gonna be taking it to the track. Who knows? I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, honestly. I don't know. So there's gonna be a lot going on though. So stay tuned and follow the build. So we'll see you later.